At the centre of this story, involving disappeared witnesses, men in black and a government cover-up, is the authenticated photo of a bizarre and still unexplained UFO. In August 1990, two Scottish hikers captured clear images of a strange diamond-shaped aircraft. The gigantic craft hovered above them, appearing to have no obvious means of propulsion and trailing no smoke plume, just silent and static as if frozen in time. The terrified men fell to the ground and crawled for cover behind a tree. Dramatically, a Harrier fighter jet roared into view, circling the huge diamond as if surveilling almost provocatively. One of the hikers snapped multiple photographs just before the bizarre UFO shot upwards vertically, then disappeared. Both men worked as chefs at Fisher's Hotel in Pitlochry and sent 6 photos of the unusual craft to the Daily Record newspaper with their story. The photographs were duly forwarded to a press officer named Craig Lindsay at the RAF base in Petrevie Castle in Dunfermline. He sent one of the photographs to the Ministry of Defence, or MOD, who also asked for the other 5 images and their negatives. The MOD also instructed Lindsay to phone the hikers, from whom he learnt the whole story. The diamond and its eerie, noiseless levitation and acceleration with no obvious means of propulsion, as well as the literally harrying jet. Lindsay was later attending a routine MOD meeting in London when he spotted a large poster-sized print of the best photograph on an office wall. When asked what the other photographs were like, some staff placed the other snaps on a windowsill which showed the Harrier jet moving across from the right side of the frame to the left, while the diamond-shaped craft didn't move an inch. Some of the technicians who had investigated the photos told him that there was no evidence of a hoax, but they had no idea what the diamond was. To summarise this saga, the Record never ran the story, the hikers never spoke out publicly about the photos, and the images were never viewed by the public for 32 years. Professor David Clarke, a lecturer at Sheffield Hallam University, trained as a journalist in the 1990s and learnt of the Calvine UFO in 1996 when Nick Pope, a former MOD civil servant, published a book on ufology. His book, Open Skies, Closed Minds, describes the Calvine case as one of the most intriguing encountered by the ministry, which concluded that the photos were not fakes and classified the incident object unexplained, case closed, no further action. Over a decade later, in 2009, Clarke was curating thousands of released UFO documents for the National Archives. Among them was a photocopied drawing of a diamond shape next to a plane, along with a note for defence ministers indicating no definite conclusions and that there is no record of Harriers operating in the sighting location at that time. Clarke continued to browse UFO files as they became slowly declassified in the National Archive and, in 2018, struck gold. An error enabled him to identify and contact the actual MOD UFO investigator. The intelligence officer told him that the photographs caused an uproar in the ministry and that they knew the nature of the object, an experimental craft pertaining to the US. From there, Clarke tracked down Lindsay, who said, "I've been waiting for someone to call me about this incident for 30 years. He gave Clarke his copy of the photo, which was analysed and verified as authentic by a photographic expert. Whatever the diamond was, said the analyst, it was a real object in a genuine photograph. Clarke published the image in 2022 when the story went viral, but despite his hope that it would entice the original photographer to come forward, no one did, and a massive search since then has not uncovered either of the two hikers. Pope's theory as to why their identity remains a mystery is his suspicion that, from the outset, they were subjected to what he calls a fairly robust conversation. He draws the line at the idea that the pair were assassinated by the deep state, as many UFO witnesses do talk to the MOD on condition of anonymity, sometimes not even telling their family or friends. While the identity of the two hikers remains a mystery, so does the identity of the diamond craft. Some ufologists believe that because it looks like no known terrestrial aircraft, it must be an alien spaceship, or possibly a craft reverse-engineered by humans based on a crashed alien vessel. Others claim that it is evidence of Aurora, a rumoured reconnaissance aircraft developed as a clandestine project in the US military. While it is purported to have led to important advances in aviation technology, there is little evidence that the program exists. Some have debunked the photo as a prank, hoax, or optical illusion produced by the reflection of an island in a lake. However, there is no body of water to be seen on that Calvine hillside. Some of the conspiracy theories are supported by the fact that the record's editor in 1990 was the late Endell Laird. He was a member of the MOD's D-Notice, now called DSMA Notices, committee. These notices are issued by the Defence and Security Media Advisory Committee to prevent the publicising of news stories that could jeopardise national security. It was speculated that Laird may have agreed with the MOD to suppress the story. Pope has confirmed that the MOD stopped the release of the photographs, telling a 2024 UFO documentary, The Program, that if the record had run the story, it would have completely blown the MOD's usual narrative. He said they wanted to bury the story and did so. All the images, including the negatives, were acquired by the Ministry of Defence, and they were never to be seen again. Pope related that the consensus was that the object was solid and of a reasonably large size. He also points out that the photos were snapped 2 days after Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, which could explain why the military was testing advanced aircraft. Although this begs the question, if you want to keep a secret weapon secret, do you road test it in broad daylight in a fairly populated area? Another reason to take the diamond phenomenon seriously is the account Richard Grieve gave to the program. Grieve said he worked with the two chef hikers in the kitchen of the Fishers Hotel. He said that the pair were outside having a cigarette break one rainy evening when a black car drove into the car park. Grieve related that the two men in dark suits got out and snapped, "Break time is over," while beckoning the chefs. Describing them as spooks, men in black, Grieve said that they stood outside in heavy rain speaking to the chefs. Then, he said, the latter returned inside looking as white as sheets. Something had happened to them. They had seen something. Whoever had got out of that car had scared them terribly, and he said that the men were not the same afterwards. They began drinking heavily, took days off work, and started sleeping in their cars outside the hotel. Grieve then claimed that the two men vanished without trace 4 weeks later, pointing out that chefs don't just disappear out of their kitchen of 34 years without a job to go to. So, he asked, where are they? Meanwhile, the MOD is characteristically tight-lipped, pointing out a hypothesis that the diamond is a mountain peak covered by fog, a suggestion that Clark states his photography expert has debunked. He says that the MOD could easily clear up the mystery by releasing the results of the analysis they made of the images in 1990 and 1992. Logically, if they concluded the photos were faked, this can be revealed without having to disclose personal information about the photographer. By their refusal to comment, they're simply feeding the conspiracy theories and the conclusion that they are hiding something. To the hikers, Clark says, we have reached the 35th anniversary of an image described as the best UFO photo ever taken. It is now the time to come forward and tell the world what really happened.